Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to another exclusive look at the TFDi design MD-11. I know you guys are as excited about the release of this as I am. I talked about it in the last video when we went over the EFB and what's available in there right now. Talked about some of the things that are coming in the future. What I want to do in this video is take a look at flight planning in the FMC. Now this FMC is a little bit different. It's similar, I think, to an Airbus. Well, not I think. It's similar to an Airbus FMC or CDU, whichever term you prefer to use. So you're going to see a lot of functionality in there that you've probably seen through Airbus videos and so on. So it's a little different, and it can be a little daunting if you're not familiar with it and you've never used it. And there are lots of features in this FMC that I'm still not familiar with. There's a lot going on in here. However, what we're going to do today is we're going to keep it pretty straightforward and simple. We're going to do a flight plan including our payload and the integration of our payload with the EFB and so on and so forth, and just show you how all of that functions and give you an idea how to do it for the future. Keep in mind also that when we do the full flight tutorial for this aircraft in the not too distant future, I will go over FMC flight planning there as well. So without further ado, let's get to work. Now, of course, the first thing we need to do when we talk about flight planning is we need to take a look at our flight plan. So I'm going to drag Sim Toolkit Pro over here really quick. So we've got our flight plan available in here. Don't mind the fact that it's late. I'm always late on this anyway, on my flights, but I'm just running the same flight plan that I was before. But I just want to take a real quick look here. It's Phoenix to Denver on our MD-11, and let's just take a look at our numbers here. So our trip fuel is going to be 18,922 pounds. Contingency fuel of 35.66, alternate fuel 64.29, KCOS is Colorado Springs, and final reserves of 54.47. Puts our minimum takeoff fuel at 34.364. I didn't put any extra fuel in there. I didn't put anything for taxi, but it is what it is. So our block fuel is 36,364. And then if we scroll down here, we can take a look at some of our weights. There we go. 309 packs on board today, 17,000 pounds of cargo for a total payload of 71,100 pounds. Puts our zero fuel weight at about 340,200 pounds. Now keep in mind this is coming from SimBrief, so this is whether or not the numbers are accurate there versus the numbers in the aircraft. Sometimes we'll see differences in those. I will say this, that the numbers in the TFDi design MD-11 I'm sure are going to be a lot more accurate than the numbers that I have from SimBrief, because I haven't done anything to adjust that profile over there. So if anybody knows a great not TFDi, but if it just knows a great MD-11 profile for SimBrief, let me know. I'd love to have it. Keep in mind also this is the passenger variant, not the cargo or freighter variant of the aircraft. All right, so there's our flight plan for the day. I'm going to throw this back over here, and we're going to jump in. We're going to take a look at how we get all this set up in the aircraft. All right, so I've gone ahead and reset the aircraft just so that I can show you the fuel load and the gross weight showing up here and so on. And so what we need to do first is we need to hop over to our EFB. We're going to do our payload over there. That's where we're going to load our fuel, passengers, and so on. That's going to get us set up for our flight. So we'll hop over here, go to the payload tab. Remember, you got to click right in the middle of the button there. And we're going to just start loading it. So 390, is it 390? I think it's 309. 309 passengers on board today. We're going to leave the average weight at 180 pounds. Cargo on board is 16,995 pounds. That'll show up as 17,000. That's fine. And then don't forget, if you have anything other than a zero in there, you're going to need a backspace in order to change it. You saw that the fuel was at 12,700 pounds. We're going to change it to 36,364 pounds. And that's probably going to just show 36,300. We'll go ahead and we'll set payload. And it should be set now. So our load is 29%, gross weight at 336,679 pounds. Zero fuel weight is 300,315 pounds. Fuel 36,364. Payload is 72,615 pounds, which puts our zero fuel weight center of gravity at 26.4%, and our current center of gravity at 20%. Remember, don't hit go back or it's going to want to reset that. Hop over here and you can see we're at 36,400 pounds of fuel now. It's not showing the gross weight and center of gravity up here, but it should show those once we take care of them down in the FMC. So now we're going to dive in down there and I'm going to show you how to set up the flight plan. Alright, so just to clarify up front, this is a flight planning video, not an FMC tutorial. So we're not going to go through everything that is and is not available in the FMC at this time. Because the aircraft is in a ready to take off state, again, other than flaps, trim, and so on, and of course the flight plan isn't in there, but the alignment of the IRS and the FMC initialization has already taken place. So we're going to go ahead and just jump in here to FMC1. As far as the initialization, alignment of the IRS, all of that stuff, that's all going to be included in the full flight tutorial. So don't worry, you will get an opportunity to see that. Pretty sure this nav data is out of date. This is the default one that comes with the aircraft. I don't know if it'll be an updated one when the aircraft actually releases, but that's the one that's in there right now. It is out of date. Just keep that in mind. So we may see things a little bit different than we did on the flight plan. Aircraft status, nothing going on here. So what we're going to do now is the initialization is already done. So if you go to initialization, and when I say initialization, I mean the IRS initialization. So that's not going to show up on here. But we can start our flight plan from here. So remember, it's Phoenix to Denver. So we're going to start by typing that in, KPHX. And you need to use this format. So there's going to be a slash in there. And then it's going to be Denver, which is KDEN. That's going to come right from your flight plan. Line select key 1 right, and there you go, it puts it in there. Now for the alternate, it's going to be KCOS, which is Colorado Springs. So we'll put that in there, and that takes care of that. Flight number for us is just going to be 2336. That's the one I use 99% of the time. And then our cruise flight level on this is flight level 370. We don't have any step climbs planned, and we don't really need them. It's not actually that long of a flight. I don't remember what the total distance is. Let me just take a peek here real quick. There it is, 553 nautical miles. So it's actually not that long of a flight. Our cost index today is actually set to 47. Nice and slow, 47. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go with that because that's what's on the flight plan. All right, once we got all of that entered in there, we're just going to click on the page button down here to go from page 1 to 2. It's going to be our weights page. Now normally up here in usable fuel on board, I've got boxes. And I can either just click the line select key, or I can put in my usable fuel on board and then select the line select key, and it's going to put that in there for me. I don't actually know what FF plus FQ is. Alright, so real quick, I'm just recording this after the fact. I spoke with Colin, and the FF plus FQ just means that it's actually reading the usable fuel on board, that it knows what fuel is there and you don't need to enter anything there. That's essentially what it means. And some of you probably already knew that. I didn't, and so I just wanted to drop that in here real quick for anybody who wasn't sure. It's not any kind of error or anything like that. It just means that the flight computer or the FMC already knows what fuel is in there, and you don't need to enter anything. So cool, easy days. So we're going to go ahead and move down to our zero fuel weight. Now you can get your zero fuel weight from right over here. You see our zero fuel weight, it's third line down, is 300,315 pounds. Hop back down over here. So it's 300,315, so it should just be 300.3. So we'll go 300.3, put that in here, and there we go. And you see that put in our gross weight as well. And then you can do takeoff center of gravity. Again, we can hop over here, and does it give us takeoff center of gravity? No, it doesn't. It just gives us zero fuel weight center of gravity and current center of gravity. So we'll hop back over here. So what we can do, that's all right if you don't know those numbers, you can just click on the line select key next to them, and it's going to populate them for you. So that's fantastic. Now this is our current zero fuel weight center of gravity. We could have put that in, but that's all right. There we have it. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over to the next page here. Now keep in mind, we're actually going to change this number later on in the process. We're not going to do it right now. So we're actually not messing with anything on this page, but we're just jumping over to this page to show you that it is there, it is functional. We will come back here to put in the refuel quantity, but it's later on in the process because that's the way the checklist I have is laid out. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it or if there's a better way to do it or what, but that's the way we're going to stick with for now. So what we want to do now is we're going to click on the flight plan. It's going to take us to the flight plan page, and you can see there's Nothing in here. You got Phoenix, Denver, Phoenix, nothing else. All right. Now again, this might seem a little daunting to somebody who hasn't done it before, but it's actually a pretty simple process. First thing we're going to do here is we're going to click on KPHX. You can see there's a lot of different things we can put in here, but what we want to focus on is our standard instrument departure, or our SID. So we're going to click on that. And then using our flight plan, whatever we're planning for. Now, if you're talking with ATC, they might give you a different departure than what you had planned initially. Something to keep in mind when you get your clearance. They're going to tell you what runway and what departure you're going to be flying. However, for our purposes, we are going to use our flight plan, which is runway 7 left. And it is the Marble, I think it's Marble 1 departure. Now, to get coughing in your face, sorry. To move down on the list, you need to scroll up. So it moves the list up. Hopefully that makes sense. So move the list up until you find Marble 1. There it is, Marble 1. So you can see 1, 2, 3, in case it looks a little offset to you. Marble 1. And then our transition is at Uper. So we're going to select Uper as our transition, and that's it. Now, that's our standard instrument departure, but to make sure it's included in our flight plan, we must select Insert. So go ahead and select Insert there, and there you go. It's going to start populating that. So there you go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll the list down by pressing on the up arrow, and you can see that takes us out to Uper. Then there's a flight plan discontinuity, and then it's straight to Denver. Well, that's not actually what's going to happen. What we're going to do is we're going to fly from Uper to a waypoint called Schnaps, which is SHNPS. So how do we put that in? We're going to click on Uper because that's our last actual waypoint. And you can see right here it's got this spot for next waypoint. Now you can also do airways. When you click on airways, you're going to put the airway in here. And then once you put that in there, it's going to box this. And then you're going to put the waypoint that you're going to right here. So we're going to go back here. And instead of doing airways, we're just going to go next waypoint. So from Uper, we go to Schnaps, which is SHNPS. There we go, Schnaps. You're going to put it right there. Bam, it puts it in there for you, just like that. Now, I still have to put in my arrival, and then you can do the approach now, or you can wait. Obviously, weather can change quite a bit, but for our purposes here, we're going to go ahead and put in the arrival and the approach, just so that you can see both of those. So I'm going to click here. Same thing I did when I was doing Phoenix. I'm going to click on the line select key all the way at the bottom next to Denver. And you see now that gives me the option for the star, standard terminal arrival, airways, or next waypoint. And then you could also do new company route, new destination. We're not doing all that right now. What we want is the star. So we're going to select that, and it is the T-bar 3, which I think on here is going to show up as T-bar 2 because of different data set. But let's scroll down. Gimel. There we go. So it's T-bar 2 on here right now because, again, this is a slightly outdated nav data. That's okay. We're going to go with T-bar 2. And then the transition. So what you want to do for the transitions, you have to actually pull up your chart. So if I drag Sim Toolkit Pro over here, this is the T-bar 3 arrival into Denver. You can see here's Schnaps right here. Now, Schnaps should show up, I think, as a transition point, actually. And I probably should have thought of that before it, but you notice it's not right here. But if I scroll down, oh, look, there's Schnaps. Imagine that. I should have thought of that first. So I'm going to select Schnaps as our transition point because that's going to put us onto the arrival. So when I select that, we can put additional stars in there. We're not going to do that. And then we want to do the approach itself. Now, we're going to just put in runway 16 right for now, and this is just to show you how to do it. Now, I can do this now. I can do it later. It doesn't matter. The process is exactly the same. So, for example, if I hit on Insert right now, that's going to insert everything up to my arrival. So as I scroll down, you'll notice there's a flight plan discontinuity at MN arc, and it's way back here. So check this out. So here's MN arc way back here, right? And that's where this ends, and then it's Denver. It's just from there to Denver, right? Because we don't have our approach in there yet. Okay, everything from MN arc basically starts turning into the approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll the down arrow to get Denver down at the bottom again. So I'll go back over to star again. Now we've already got the star in there. I don't need to change this. What I need is I need to select my approach. Now we're going to do the runway 16 right ILS approach today. So we'll select that, and then the transition. So remember, MN arc is our last waypoint. So the transitions that are available for me are Kylie, Kipper, Tishner, and then it goes to an additional approach. So you have to look at your approach chart to know which one of those you're going to need to use. Now, I would say with a big, heavy, fat bird like the MD-11, if you're not very familiar with it and you're new to flying it, you'd want this further one out. We're going to go with Kylie. It's not going to matter. We're not flying it right now anyway. So move that back over here, and then we're going to select Kylie, line select key 2, and we don't need to do anything else but click Insert. All right? And what that actually did is that added a bunch more waypoints. It didn't just add Kylie, you may have noticed there. Instead, now we've got Aeolus, Epic, and so on, and these are all again on our arrival. So coming back over here to our charts, and I know it's a lot of back and forth, but I just want to show you how this is working. So we were at MN arc, now we've got Aeolus, Epic, probably Red Devil is what that's supposed to be. It's gonna, all those are going to be in there now. And so as we scroll this up to go down, there you go, Red Devil, Cliff, and then it's vectors because that's what's set up on the chart. Again, going to the arrival chart, it's vectors going out to there, and then it's from vectors that we're going to end up on the approach. Now what we can do, if we want to get rid of those vectors, what we can do is we can clear them out. Let's see if it lets me just clear it. Yeah, it does. Clear them out, and then you have to clear that discontinuity. And now what'll happen is it'll connect from Cliff directly to Kylie, and then it'll fly the approach from there. All right, once we got all that done, we're going to click on the initialization button again, jump over to the weight page, the weight initialization page, and we're going to note the block fuel. All right, so the block fuel is 36.2. Then we're going to jump back over one more page, and we're going to put 36.2 in here. Actually, block fuel was 36.4. We're going to put 36.4 in there. Now we're going to go to the takeoff and approach page. This is where we're going to get our V speeds from. Now keep in mind, unlike the flight sims of old, we do have slope in our runways now. Now there's a way to calculate runway slope. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that right now. What we're going to do, because we're using runway 7 lefts, we're going to look at our chart, and I'm going to show you this is just going to be real simple, nothing crazy. Runway 7 left, this guy over here, elevation is 1,110 feet here, and it's 1,134 feet here. So it's an upward slope, right? It's higher here than it is here, but it's not much of a slope. So we're going to put it as a 0.1. That's what we're going to do. Now, listen, I am not saying that is the right way to do it. I'm saying that's what we're doing for this one to make it simple, but it is possible to calculate runway slope. If you want to learn how to do that, or if you want me to do a video on that in the future, let me know. My goodness. Okay, so I think it's just probably just because it's such a minute slope. I don't know, but either way, I finally got it, so I just put 0.01, which I still think is wrong, and then 3, and it took it. And I swear I put that in once already, but it doesn't matter. You got to get the format right, or it just won't take it, right? So I put I think it's 0.1, and then /3, and it should have taken that. Yeah, so I could have sworn I put that in once already, and it didn't like it for whatever reason. I didn't have to put HD or anything like that. So anyway, I fumbled with it for a minute, but there you go. And the headwind of 3 is fine. You don't need the 0.2. Okay, there we go. Now, you can use your weather to get your outside air temperature, which shows 17 on Sim Toolkit Pro, but in the sim it shows 16. It's a difference of 1 degree. Does that make a big difference? Not really. We're going to go with the sim, though. Outside air temperature. Format error, I know. I forgot. You got to put the C on there. 16C. I'm on a roll right now. There we go. 16 degrees Celsius. Flaps are going to be set to 20. You're going to need to use your dial-a-flap for that. We'll show that later in the full flight tutorial. Hopefully I won't forget the formatting for the slope and the wind when I do that. Now you're going to confirm your V speeds, V1, V rotate, and V2. So it's 125, 125, and 149. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for FMC flight planning. And that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. You can see that our flight plan is now inside our FMC. We've got our magenta line on here. It's going to include our departure. It's going to show our top of climb, top of descent. It's going to show our arrival, our approach, the whole shebang. that's it. That's all and no more. I don't know what else to tell you. Little struggle there with getting the formatting right on the runway slope and the wind. Keep in mind the runways do have slope in them now, so either do a real light estimate like I did, or you could just put it at 0, but it does affect the performance of the aircraft, especially if you have a pretty good slope on a runway, which there are a few out there that do. So just keep that in mind. And again, if you'd like me to show you at some point a tutorial on how to calculate runway slope, I can do that for you. That'll probably bore you to death, but I'd be happy to show it to you anyway. So that is it. That is all and no more, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all and have an absolutely fantastic day.